Hello, I'm Priestess Autumn Phoenix, Priestess of Coven of the Phoenix, located here in New York City. Find me on Twitter at Priestess Autumn. Find me on Instagram at Autumn_Phoenix1. Find me on YouTube at Autumn Phoenix. Find me on Periscope at Autumn Phoenix. Tonight is a very special broadcast. This is the last day of September. Tomorrow is the beginning of the season of the witch. In October, a lot of witches are going to be doing witchcraft to make their lives better. Our new year is on October 31st. It is our largest celebration out of all of our Sabbaths. It is going to be a brand new year for us witches on October 31st. And since so much witchcraft is done in October, some of you may be wondering why your spells don't work out, why they fail. It happens to everybody. It happens to me, even though I've been a witch for over 10 years now. Some of my spells still don't turn out exactly as I want them to. But over the years, I've learned why. I learned how to correct them. I learned how to tweak my spells a little bit so they have a stronger chance of going the way that I want them to go. So let's get right into it. I have 8 reasons why your spells fail and some tips on how to correct them. Now listen, spells don't always go the way you want them to, because nobody is perfect. Even though I hold the title of priestess, I'm not perfect. I'm not perfect because I'm human. Every witch has experienced a spell that has failed. Any witch that says they haven't, they're lying to you. Because if every single spell that they have cast has manifested exactly as they wanted it to, they must be not human. And there is nothing, witches are not entities, they're not animals, they don't eat children, they're human, like everybody else you see on the street. Just because a spell does not go the way that you want it to, doesn't mean that you're no good. It does not mean that you are a bad witch, because nobody is perfect. That's why you practice it. That's why witchcraft is a craft. You have to stick with it. If you put too much time aside when you're not practicing your craft, you won't get better at it. Practice really does make perfect when it comes to witchcraft. Most of the time when spells fail, it is simply because of the circumstances. Maybe the circumstances is not right for you. Maybe you're not doing your part. When you do a spell, there's another part to it. If you do a spell to get more money, okay, you do the spell to get more money, but you still have to go out and make more money. You still have to come up with an idea on how you're going to make that $200,000 a year rather than $30,000 a year. You still have to do your part. All those candles and crystals and incense and oils, all those things do is give your spells a boost. You still have to do your part. You can't just cast a spell and just sit there and do nothing. If you sit there and do nothing, do not do your part, then you will have nothing. Period. It could mean when the spell fails, it could mean that you are missing important steps, or simply, like I just said, because you're not doing your part. That's a big reason why a lot of witches don't get what they want when it comes to witchcraft, because they are not doing their part. The first reason why spells fail is you're not giving that spell enough time to work. You have to have patience. Patience is so big in witchcraft. If you don't have patience, you can't do witchcraft. You can't. Some things, some spells take a while. Sometimes all the necessary pieces take a little while to fall into its proper place. You have to give your spells enough time to work. Spells don't manifest in a certain time frame, especially if you haven't done your part to manifest that spell, to manifest that desire. If you don't do your part, spell manifestation is going to take much, much longer, or it might not happen at all. And that's entirely on you. If you want a promotion at work, who doesn't? It might take a few weeks or even a few months to work a spell and be able to see an increase in your paycheck. If you want a new romantic partner in your life, a husband, a wife, it'll take a while, love spells, it'll take a while for that person to find their way to you so that your spell is orchestrated the best meeting. So you have to be patient. If you don't have patience, you cannot do witchcraft. Nor should you be even attempting to do so, because spells do not manifest in a certain time frame. Any witch that says, oh, you'll get a $200,000 check in the mail in 3 days, they're lying to you. That's not how magic works, because nobody is going to be able to do their part to get that $200,000 in 3 days. It's just not natural, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Not heaven. The hell did I say that for? It's not going to happen. There is no certain time frame on when to expect a spell to manifest. You have to have patience. If you have kids, you know all about patience. If you work with kids, you know all about patience. It's the same thing when it comes to doing a spell. You have to have patience. If you have a short temper, don't do witchcraft, because it will not manifest the way you want to, or it may not manifest at all. And once again, you have no one to blame but yourself. The second reason why spells fail is because you don't want it. You don't want it. If your heart isn't in it, you're not going to get what you are asking for. If your heart is not in it, you are not going to get what you're asking for. And do you really deserve it? Do you really deserve to have a brand new car in your driveway if your heart is not in the spell that you're doing to manifest that car into your driveway? No, you don't, because your heart is not in it. Magic, let me tell you something. Magic is a combination of emotion, visualization, and will. Emotion, visualization, and will. So that means when you do a spell, you have to have some type of feeling of already having what you have desired. When it comes to visualization, you have to already see that car in your driveway. You have to already see yourself at the altar getting married. And when it comes to will, you have to actually go out and do those things. You can't just sit around and do nothing. If you sit around and do nothing, you will have nothing, and you will deserve nothing. So that's very important. Very, very important. For a spell to work, you must have all three: emotion, visualization, and will. They have to be in alignment with each other. If they are not in alignment with each other, things are going to get a little out of control, a little wacky. But there is a loophole though. You can make do with only one or two aspects. So you can have will and visualization, or emotion, visualization, if the other two are neutral. But if any one of them is fighting amongst each other against the other, your spell will not work. Even if you can visualize the desired outcome and you pour your will in the spell, if your feelings directly contradict the outcome you're trying to get, the spell is not going to go anywhere. It'll be as though you have never cast it. The third reason why spells fail is because you're not clear. You're unclear. If you don't know what you want, your magic is not going to make it happen for you. If you don't know what you want, your magic is not going to make it happen for you because it doesn't know what you want. You're not clear enough when you cast. Let me give you an example. I wrote it down here. Let's say you cast a love spell, but the intention is pretty general. It's just a love spell, nothing more. But there are many types of love though. So what kind of love do you want? You don't know what kind of love you're looking for, what your ideal relationship would be like, or how you would even want to feel in a new loving relationship. There are many ways to define love. There are many definitions of love. If you aren't sure which interpretation of that word that you are looking for, you're likely to get nothing. So if you want a love and friendship, then make sure you make that clear. If you want a romantic love, make sure that you make that clear. You can't just cast a love spell with no intention behind it. So if you're casting a love spell for a husband or a wife, be very sure to mention that. Because if you cast a love spell, okay, what is the love spell for? What type of love are you bringing into your life? So be very careful, especially with love spells, because they can get messy if you're not sure what you want. Even if the love spell works, it doesn't usually work, but sometimes it gets through. Even if that love spell works, you know something? Let me tell you something. It may be a far cry from what you actually want in a partner. It might be a serial killer. It might be a rapist. It may be a mass murderer that you get in a partner. So be very specific about what type of love that you want. It might be a stalker. Well, when you break up with those type of people, they usually become stalkers because they realize or they think if I can't have you, nobody can. Crazy much? Yeah. So when you cast love spells or any type of spell, you have to be very clear of what you want. If you don't know what you want, your magic can't do nothing for you because you're not clear on your intention. And of course, when you do a love spell, you can't wait around for Miss Right or Mr. Right to come ring your doorbell. You have to actually leave the house. Miss Right, Mr. Right is not going to break into your house. You have to actually go out and meet people because they're not going to show up on your door. Okay? The fourth reason why spells fail is because you're doing too much. You're bugging out. A lot of new witches get excited about casting their first spell that they throw so many intentions as they can into that one spell. Some witches, when they first start doing magic and it's really just one spell that they're doing, they cast so many intentions for love, and wealth, money, all rolled into one. I used to do that too, but I learned. I'm about to tell you how to do it too. All rolled into one. This does not work. Casting all those intentions, love, money, luck, into one spell does not work. It's messy. It's not going to work. When you overburden a spell, the issue is not with it. It's with you. The issue is with you because you put too many intentions into what should be just one spell. Instead, what will happen is your mind will jump from one intention to the next, trying to focus on what you might think is focusing on all of them. You can't focus on love, luck, and money all at the same time. You become scattered brain. But what's happening in reality, you're only achieving fractured and confused attention. That's the only thing that you are summoning. Fraction and confused attention. Because your attention is all over the place. When this happens, your ability to direct magic is at its lowest it can be. And very, very lowest. Magic relies on clarity and focused attention. To know what you want it to do. If your attention is all over the place, your spell will not have a direction to go to. It will not have a direction to go to. So there will be no movement when that happens. It'll just be like it's stuck on pause. And you will have to reboot and start again. And if you have to start a spell again, you can't pick up where you left off. You have to do the whole spell over again. And if you're doing a really big ritual, I don't care. If you mess up somewhere in that ritual, you can't pick up where you left off. You gotta do the whole ritual again. And some rituals take days to do. So you might want to think about if you want to do a ritual because they take so long to do. Some rituals take days, weeks. You cannot pick up where you left off. You have to start all over again, which sucks. So if your attention is all over the place and you're trying to focus that attention on one goal and to move it in a particular direction, there will be no movement. It will be like it's stuck on pause. So if you're going to do a spell for love, then do just that spell. Don't add luck and wealth on top of it, because your brain is going to be scattered. You cannot focus on one goal, on more than one goal. You can't do it. I don't care how intelligent you are, it's just not going to happen. So when you do a spell, focus on one end goal. Either love, money, wealth, happiness, health, whatever. But you can't do all of those things in one spell. I know that it's exciting for new witches to do spell work, but just focus on one thing. The fifth reason why your spells fail is because you're not in the mood. Not in the mood, you don't feel like it. Maybe you're sick. Maybe you're angry. Maybe you're sad. Do not do magic when you're sad, angry, or sick. You know it's flu season now. Please don't do magic when you're sick, because it will not turn out the way that you want it to, or maybe nothing will come of it. Your mood plays a big part when you cast spell. When you cast a spell, everything is added into it. Everything. So if you are fighting the flu, why would you want to use up the little bit of energy that you have to do witchcraft? Witchcraft takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of spiritual energy. And if you're fighting the flu and then you decide to do witchcraft, you're setting yourself up for failure, for guaranteed failure. It's not going to work. If you cast a spell when you're feeling sad or depressed or blue, or if you're sick or if you're angry, and still feel that same way or same ways afterwards, your spell will fail. Period. Somebody needs to write that down, because it's very important to remember that. Your mood plays a big part in your spell work. When you are depressed, when you're sad, your mind is not in its best state to do witchcraft. It's not. It's in a very bad state, because you can't concentrate, because you're worried about your health. You're worried about getting over that flu. I mention the flu because it just so happens to be flu season right now. We are about to enter October, and that flu epidemic is about to rise. So that's why I mentioned flu season as an example. Your mind is not in a good place to raise energy and direct that energy with focused attention when you're not in the mood to do it in the first place. You're likely to struggle a lot. You're coughing, you're wheezing, you're coughing up that yellow stuff. Who can focus with all that shit going on? You have aches and pains. Who the hell can focus doing witchcraft while they are in that type of condition? Nobody. If you can, you're not a human being. All right? I'm just going to put it out there just like that. Tell you straight up and down. Even summoning the energy to do the spell in the first place, it's going to be a struggle because you can't focus. Your attention is elsewhere. You're just casting a spell because you're bored. What you need is an actual doctor. What you need is actual medication, not witchcraft. Doing witchcraft to make your health improve does work, but you still need to take your medication. Okay? It's not just enough to cast a spell to stomp out the flu. You still have to do your part. If you feel like, let me tell you something. If you feel like working magic will improve your mood, then go ahead and do it. If you're not really feeling it, it's okay to set it aside for another day. You're not missing anything by setting it aside another day and to take care of yourself in the natural world by using medication or getting rest or getting the depression out of you. It can wait for another day. The sixth reason why your spell fell is because you have canceled it out yourself. You nullified it. This is when you take responsibility for yourself. This particular tip right here is when you take responsibility for yourself. Being stressed and having worrisome thoughts can cancel out a spell if they are present excessively. So if you are excessively stressed or excessively worried, you can cancel out your own spell. This happens a lot in love spells and money spells when loneliness and financial worries are already bothering you. A spell is a tool. It is a tool to help you focus, hold on to that focus, and release a specific energy into the universe. This can bring very powerful change, but only if that energy is not being blocked out by conflicting energies. Somebody needs to write that down because that's very important to remember. When you cast a money spell and then spend the rest of the week worrying about money, you're spending a lot more time and energy on that worry than you did on the actual spell you cast to bring money to you. By doing that, this will eat up the effectiveness of your spell work. And you'll have to do the spell all over again. You'll need to develop trust and confidence in yourself and in your craft. You can do this. You can dispel the stress and worry that you have by writing it down in a journal. Write down what you are stressed about or worry about. Write it down in a journal. And then tear it out and then burn it. Burn it in a cauldron. Burn it in one of your pots that you use for cooking to dispel that worry and to dispel that stress. The seventh reason why your spell might fail is because of your belief. Now this is pretty straightforward. If you cast a spell for something that you don't think is possible, it won't be possible. If you cast a spell and you don't believe it's possible, it won't be possible. Your will won't be behind the spell. If your will is not behind the spell, that means you're not motivated to go out and do your part to make that spell manifest. Even if the emotional part of the spell, you're truly invested in it, if you don't think it's possible, you won't be able to manifest it with magic. Let me give you an example. I wrote it down. You cast a spell for $600,000. Who doesn't want $600,000? So you cast a spell for $600,000. But you don't think that you could ever really have that amount of money. Then you know what? You won't have $600,000. You might wish you had that much money, but deep down, you don't really believe it. You're insecure about it. You don't believe that it's possible. Or even worse, the worst case scenario is you think people with that type of money must be crooks. No, people work hard and they make $600,000 a year, $800,000 a year. You can too. Your mind and your magic cannot and will not allow you to do something that directly contradicts your beliefs about the world, and they certainly won't allow you to become something that you think is inherently corrupt. Write that down because that's very important too. I hope you've been writing down everything I've been saying, because it's all going to help you live a more magically filled life. Number 8, the last reason why your spells fell. It's not happening. You can't spell for something that is impossible. Now, I've had people ask me to cast spells to make them invisible, to make them be able to breathe underwater, to make them be able to teleport. That's not possible. You can't teleport. You can't become invisible. You can't breathe underwater. You can't set things on fire with your mind. Those things are not possible. If you cast a spell for something that is impossible, nothing, absolutely nothing will happen. Let me go a little bit more into that. If the magic you're trying to do directly contradicts the physical laws here on Earth, on our planet, that govern the world, Earth, it will not work. You might be able to get away with that type of magic when you are dreaming, when you're, asleep. But in the natural world, that is not going to happen. It will never happen. It's impossible. Absolutely impossible. If your magic or the spell that you've cast tries to break the laws of physics, it's not going to happen, and you've just wasted your time. Okay? Work with the reality of our world, and your spells, you'll see, will be much more successful. Work with reality, and you will see your spells much more successful. So those are my 8 reasons why your spells have failed and how to correct them. So I will be leaving this out for the replay, and thank you for joining me tonight. Bye. How do you end it?